Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be playing an awesome mod. This is Ancient Empires, so not only do you get to play in the past, you get to play in the far past. Actually, sorry, it's Age of Bronze, which allows you to play as these ancient empires. I'm going to be playing as Egypt. Very cool to see the Egyptian chariots here moving forward with a lot of my infantry units. As you can see, armor and weapons are very primitive. It is the Age of Bronze, so we'll be seeing a lot of padded linen, some basic wood or kind of, yeah, I can't remember what this type of design is called. It's kind of like wicker shields, a lot of that type of thing. I also have these Nubian bowmen, so a lot of pretty cool variety even in this ancient day and age. So more archers, slingers pushing forward. I do have, we're playing this on large funds by the way. I do have a lot of extra troops in the back, some more ranks of spearmen guarding the flanks. And then I have some of my heavier, quote-unquote, dudes in the back, slowly pushing forward. More chariots. One of the things you'll notice in this mod that I don't think there's any cavalry mounted units. The only mounted units that you'll be seeing is chariots, and that's historically accurate. The first thing people would have done when they had horses is, well, thought, are you crazy? If anyone suggested riding them, no one knew how. Ancient depictions of horses, first and foremost, are going to come where you just kind of use them to pull something, and then you yourself stand on a more stable chariot platform in the back. So first use of horses would have probably been on chariots. Some early depictions, I think Egyptian statues show people trying to ride horses, where they would have been sitting on the actual butt, and not necessarily where the modern saddle is right now. And so yeah, it's kind of cool to be cast back into time when this is really all you have. So lots of blocks of infantry. Some of my Sheridan guardsmen here pushing forward. So these are my, like I said, quote unquote elite troops. Yeah, they look like they're ready for a beach party. Especially this guy here with his robes. Too funny. So not too much to expect from these guys. Pharaoh's foot guard do look a little bit better. But that is going to be the Egyptian roster for you here. It doesn't actually have too much armor to bring to bear. It's going to have a lot of skirmishers, a lot of archers that I'm moving up with, chariots, and whatnot. So I'm moving up in a large formation. Right hand side is going to be held down by Nubian bowmen hidden in the woods with a couple spears in support. Meanwhile, my opponent Indy Pride is pushing forward, and he has this unit, this army that's basically the Hittites. It comes with some Hittite chariots, and these guys are drawn by 4 horses, much stronger than mine, with medium swordsmen, some Anatolian warriors. We can watch these guys here a little bit closer. So already you're starting to see, basically this is the equivalent of the Egyptian forces, but those are just Indy's light troops. He has some axemen and clubmen coming up behind, but now you start to see some of his Anatolian footmen that over here are much better armored than anything I can bring to bear. So that is going to be some of his substantial bonuses, and he has more provincial axemen, so pretty scary force to see this here moving forward. And he has, like I said, his own chariots that are going to be kind of starting to duel with mine on either flank, and they do have some cool horned helmets on them. Well, the forces start to stare out at one another. Now, it's hard to estimate how large forces would have been, at this point in time. Although some, a lot of times with history, you start to kind of lose track of things. People think, oh no, these must have been terribly small armies at the time. But we do have some indications that the Assyrian army was actually really, really strong. It was a superpower at the time, and I do believe people think they had multiple field armies, each numbering at least 20 or 30,000. And that is crazy to think that this was just fielded by, you know, a small number of city-states in ancient Mesopotamia. To think that they could have fielded so many men fighting in such a primitive way, it's super interesting. So my chariots here are going to start pushing up through the center. I figured that on my left I have a big solid blob reinforced by archers, which I'm doing a good job of knocking over, showing the peasants where their place is. But yeah, what my strategy here is to pull back in the center and hold the wings with archers and try and pepper Indy Pride's forces. He's moving up in a big, 6-layer deep formation. What I want to do is start to shoot at his spears, and once that's broken, charge through the center and hit his guys with my light chariots. Let's get a nice view on this side. of the spears as we push forward. Man, this is freaking crazy. Massive numbers of troops starting to face off against one another. His own spears that are up in the forefront, as you can see here, have pretty good armor. So despite my slinger and archer volleys, they're going to be holding up pretty well. But my main goal is to knock out his spears so that my chariots can do a bit more damage. And now he's starting to feel the pain as I start to unload on multiple fronts on his guys. Focus fire on them is going to cause them to drop pretty significantly. Meanwhile, Indy's own spears and forces are starting to pick away at my guys, but not do too much damage. His front ranks are going to charge forward, medium swordsmen. Once they close the distance, they should do pretty well. And over on this side, he has his own medium swordsman tangoing with my Egyptian spearmen. Same thing over there, but as I've been telling you, I just want to use them to pin his guys down. So his forces are going to be caught up here, and then my bowmen are all going to target the flanks of his heavy spears and chip away at them. This spear force is starting to dwindle, and then slowly he's going to engage with the rest of his troops. Let's watch a little bit of this ancient combat up close and personal. Indy does have, I think, I brought 4 or 5 more spears than him, so he's going to have more swords to bring to bear. So this is going to go, the melee advantage is going to go to him. I mean, even staring at these two forces, my guys only have a bath towel wrapped around them. Not going to be good. But now archers in a pretty punishing position against Indy Pride spears. Just showering them. And then I'm going to come in with 2 club infantrymen to reinforce this position just as my spears start to falter. Clubmen charging through the woods as I focus fire on his troops. So clubs against spears, I should win that. Meanwhile, Indy is charging full force up through this central position after carving through one of my spears. So now we have the second line reinforcing. Historically, you wouldn't have much in the way of first, second, and third reserve lines. In ancient battles, it was often just a big scrum along these central positions, with some skirmishing, of course, taking place in the center before the battle and afterwards. But now we're tied up in the center. My bows are going to start to turn their attention to what's going on the flank, which is basically his troops moving forward, seeing off these chariots with my spears. So I feel pretty comfortable, and any one of his troops that tries to penetrate through, I focus fire with all of my archers to dispatch them. Meanwhile, take a look at what's happening in the center. I come in with both of my chariots, and I'm going to have a clean shot through his center, no spears here. So like I was saying, that was my ultimate goal on this front, was to be able to do a nice old school, as close as you can get to a cavalry charge as possible. So I'm still stuck onto his guys through here, but I'm slowly trying to pull through. Indy's own chariots are going to come and hit me from the side. So I'm going to try and continue to pull through. And it is pretty wide-scale chaos down through here. I'm going to get a lot of kills with the chariot. You can see how much damage it did to this force and a lot of chaos. Archers focusing fire to take out Indy's chariots. It's doing pretty well. But then again, my front lines here, my own forces, club infantry, very weak troops, are going to fall prey to his heavier armed troops, and with the covering fire of the archer is going to start doing a lot of damage. Clubmen holding pretty well, but these Anatolian guys are super strong comparatively. On the far right, my main line of spears is finally crashing, but now here comes the Egyptian shock infantry closing the distance against his own tired and depleted men. Pretty eager to see how that goes. Waves and waves of guys coming in. I do like the scimitars or curved blades that they have at their disposal here. But Indy also has a lot of reserve men coming forward. I do have spears coming into the back to try and strike at him. Focus fire with the archers, and now let's get ourselves in a nice position to watch another huge clump of infantry get hit by chariots. Indy's trying to do the same thing on his flank. That's why I have a lot of reserves to hold strong, and I'm going to commit my chariots down through the center while archers continue to focus fire in the center. And all throughout the rest of the battlefield, it's infantry tied up, but this here is going to be a nice solid blob to hit the rear of. And then I'm just going to knock them on their asses and continue to pull through the scythe there, cutting men apart, most of them being knocked to the ground. And then my infantry is going to be routed at the same time, but I do just pull through and hit his next Anatolian forces. How many kills do I have? 58 starting to come up. His own chariots are in the rear, so I'm trying to retarget my archers and other forces to try and see off his chariots. That could be pretty devastating for me. And we're going to try and see them off. And that is his general, so I'm pretty happy to have Indy Pride's general pulled off to the side, but there is a huge gap developing meanwhile up through the center, where I can do everything I can to try and cover this with archer fire and dissuade the enemy, but ultimately they're going to recognize that there is a massive gap, and they're going to poke and prod their way through the guts, the central underbelly of my army, where I have lots of archers, but my spears have only just come back from routing, and now take a look at what Indy Pride's general is going to have facing him. I'm trying to turn around and shoot at him. It does take out a couple, but now it's easy pickings, especially against light troops like this. He's going to carve through my guys, although I do break his Hittite chariots, and so that's going to be a nice little boon for me, but it did provide just the chance for him to push through the center. Also, his own chariot's going to be pushing forward, and they spot an opportunity here to come after my weakened Nubian bowmen. What I decide to do is try and throw some infantry, brace them at the last second to try and hold his chariots back. I need to have archers and skirmishers in the end game because I know how powerful those can be, but he is slippery and he gets right through, and now it's hungry hippos straight through my guys. How many kills is that? 146 already, an entire unit. Oh my god, 150 kills in the blink of an eye, and he's coming after the next couple rounds. I do kind of try and bait him over with the Libyan bowmen to save my Nubian bowmen, who are a bit better, but I have nothing to hold the rear. I'm going to put this on slow motion so you can see what can happen. While on the right side, I'm kind of holding. Center got blown up by Indy's forces, but on the left flank, I'm doing pretty well. I've got a lot of reserves. My main line is holding. I've got his Anatolian spearmen surrounded, and then I have my own chariots doing the same to Indy's skirmishers, so I'm doing pretty well on that side. Center is going to him, left is going to me, right is pretty contested. Oh, the main problem here, you'll notice, is all the number of archers that he has here, and they're going to blot out the sun when it comes to firing at my general. So it doesn't matter that my guys are in the mix with Indy's forces. He has decided that fuck it, he's gonna kill everyone. Here comes another brutal volley. And so thank God my guys are a little bit more heavily armored, but still, that's gonna be pretty brutal. So now I'm gonna try and chase off his archers with what I have left. This would be a really good time to come back with the chariot, but my chariots are busy in the back dealing with this Hittite force. With 542 kills, it has obliterated my skirmishers in the back, and finally I'm going to see it off and break it. But yeah, his Indy's chariots have been doing a lot of work. I, meanwhile, did not have the chariots present to try and reinforce and knock out his skirmisher blob. Meanwhile, it's going to get caught up here, pulling through his guys. I do spot a pretty juicy target. I'm going to try and go after his blob here. How many kills am I at so far? 195. So I plow headlong through his guys. More orders to pull through, but in the time being, I end up losing my force. Got 70 more kills for my troubles, but he was finally able to massacre the last of my chariots, and so now we're caught even without chariots. My chariots would have been better suited knocking out these huge infantry clusters, who now can turn about and fire away at my Egyptian, Pharaoh's foot guard and other units who won the flank. But Indy has won the skirmishing fight for the most part. He has lots of healthy units. I'm going to win the infantry fight for the most part. In the center, I do have a couple infantry left to deal with Indy's forces. So now I get to fire into the flank with my Nubian bowmen. And we'll see how that goes. Although most of the fire is actually going to be retargeting Indy's own archers. So now we're kind of shooting at each other's archers, and he has these Neha river hunters, which turns out are pretty freaking strong. My own archers here, meanwhile, are caught up against some Anatolian warriors. It's really bad for me. I desperately need to bring back some of these units to try and save my archers, but meanwhile, they're going to get caught up against swords, so I need to 2v1 them, otherwise I'm going to lose. So looks like my archer fire here doing a good job of destroying his Neha hunters, but in the back, Indy has 4 of those guys left. I'm going to try and chase them off with my infantry, but in the center, I'm starting to lose with my forces here. So I do disengage with one of my Nubian bowmen, sacrificing slingers. That's a pretty good exchange, I would think. And now let's watch a bit of the Neha Hunters exchanging with the Nubian Bowmen. My guy is with 265 kills. I told you that's why I kept these guys alive. They are the most elite bows I believe Egypt can bring to bear. And they're going to start to pick apart Indy's forces as they start to run away from my elite forces. The problem with my elite troops there is every couple of volleys going to take out more and more of my guys. They're going to get more and more tired. And he has so many volleys of arrows. This shit is crazy. It only takes a couple volleys to start doing punishing fire. Indy obviously starting to get some splits on me real quick. I'm going to try and herd at least half of his men back to the center where I can continue to fire at them with my Nubian Bowman, try and deal damage to them, but now his infantry is closing in to shut down my archers. Pretty troubling. I'm still trying to see off his Anatolian warriors in the back, but now I've been forced to split up my troops, and this is where the late game archer superiority, especially in ancient times like this, where you don't have much in the way of armor, this is where it's going to start to really hurt. Indy doing a good job of focusing fire on the flanks of units wherever he can. And yeah, now there's 360 degrees of fire coming on my forces. This archer unit running away from my guys and still getting shots off. My own Nubian Bowman out of ammo trying to chase him away, but now he can do the dance around my forces. Really scary stuff for my troops. 27 men left going up against 61 provincial axemen. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I don't expect too much, especially when I anticipate Indy turning around any second now. Yep, here come the archers. And they're going to decide to pick away at my pursuing guys, and look how those flanking shots are going to knock out one after another of my elite men. Good God. Not good stuff for me. So here come my elite troops that won that flank with a lot of kills. 129 kills, 349. Now they've been reduced to chasing away archers, and that is bad for me. There's still a bit of an infantry pile up here, but I only have shock spearmen and Nubian bowmen. Thankfully I do have Pharaoh's Foot Guard with 113 kills to their name. Still very healthy. They're coming in to help. Nubian bowmen with 481. These guys with 121, so I should be able to do pretty well, but look at what's turning its attention towards my guys. Indy does a good move, comes in with the Anatolian swordsman and pins me in such a way that now my flank is completely exposed. And I'm not even sure if these archers, yeah, it looks like they're coming in for melee, but take a look. That killed 20 or so men. 2 units in the back are now reloading, and here comes a couple more volleys. So with that goes my infantry advantage. So in ancient times, what would have been the composition of forces? You would have seen a mix. Back in the day, kind of one of the easiest pieces of equipment to have would have been a spear or a club. So you would have seen war bands equipped with spears and clubs. Bows from hunting communities, and maybe even the city-states armory would have been able to equip some of their troops with bows. Wouldn't have seen too much of it as first, and actually early infantry blocks would have been mixes of troops, bows mixed with spears, mixed with clubs, a bit of everything pushed together. It wasn't until some of the larger city-states and kingdoms started to form up like the Assyrians that you start to see the differentiation of infantry units, the accumulation of archers, and it was known that the Assyrians had a pretty good infantry corps over time and made good use of deadly archer fire, massing it in ranks and doing what you would imagine against low armored troops. It's just seeing them off with massive archer volleys. Now in the future that would be iterated upon by having usually a proportion of combat troops to archers would have been 50-50 or maybe a bit more heavy in favor of melee infantry. But even that 50-50 mix between melee infantry and archers, the inheritors of the Assyrians and the future Persians later started to tinker with that mix, and they started to say, what happens if I go for, I tweak the ratio and put more and more archers, just get a light spear wall in the front and then mass tons of archers, get a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio of archers. I can't remember offhand what the statistics are, but I know that historians believe that the Persians, or early Persians and other people, basically led by Cyrus the Great, and the pioneering that they did, how their armies focused around archers and how just devastating that was to infantry formations, how much they could get done with archer fire, and that was kind of what started to form what we know of the kind of eastern troops, very reliant on slingers, bowmen, different projectile units, and then inevitably, once the domestication of the horse and learning how to ride the horse came about, the use of heavy cavalry mixed with archers, very mobile, very versatile force. So in this battle, we see the archers here basically being dominant. Indy's going to kill my Pharaoh's Guard with his combination of Anatolian swordsmen and others, but I kind of have his guys down to almost nothing. I have a pretty healthy Sheridan Guardsman unit taking out his archers. His archers are almost out of ammo, but his last couple volleys here are going to prove punishing. 313 on the Neha Hunters, and they're going to focus, of course, on my melee infantry, and they're going to take them out. So with that, my forces collapse, but still, nonetheless, for the number of troops that we deployed, for it to come down to just a couple, 3-4 units on either side, very impressive. And look at the bodies littering the battlefield, really crazy stuff. I love seeing these mods which play with the unit sizes. I love seeing big unit sizes of chariots, just makes everything more epic. Let's go ahead and end the replay and take a look at some of the final stats here. So, holy crap, I did not know that I brought 8,000 men to the battlefield. Are you serious? That's freaking crazy. With Indy 7,300. But like I was saying earlier, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 spears. To Indy Pride's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had 5 more spears than him. Which in the end, you can see my spears got almost no kills. Had I swapped those out, I think for just more archers or more infantry that were pretty capable, they were roughly the same cost, I think I would have come out far better in this. But man, everyone just slaughtered everyone. Like, everyone has mad amounts of kills except for the spears. Indy's high killers, chariots here, provincial chariots with 617. That's absurd. His Neha River Hunters all with over 200 kills apiece. His top scoring bowman unit with 314 actually, whereas my top kill 349, 483. My archers did work. Slingers as well, should have definitely focused on more of those. They did a lot of good damage. Even my swords and clubmen doing fairly well. Pharaoh's chariots 268, and yeah, the Sheridan Guardsmen definitely paying for themselves. So yeah, that was very, very fun. I do hope you guys enjoyed. I'll have more of this. The mod is tremendously entertaining. Definitely shifts up the pace of battle. It's nice not to see a predominance of chariots, or sorry, excuse me, predominance of cavalry as a deciding factor. Focus on infantry and skirmishers really changes up the pace of the game. Anyways, that's it for this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.